Hi, welcome to Dig Into China. I'm Dong Xiong. Today, I'd like to share with you an article from Bloomberg that has sparked widespread discussion among international mainstream media. Many outlets have also weighed in with their own commentary on this piece authored by Karishma Vaswani. The title of the article is gentle yet thought-provoking. America just doesn't get China's people versus the CCP. It's dangerous to see the nation's 1.4 billion citizens solely through the prism of the Communist Party. Cracks are already appearing in Xi Jinping's effort to control the narrative. The title may not strike you as particularly remarkable, but delve into the content and you will find it both intriguing and well-crafted. The article reads, "From Washington to Tokyo to Manila and Brussels, distrust of Beijing is growing. President Xi Jinping's charm offensive in Europe this week aimed at stabilizing relations and allaying concerns over electric vehicles and chips is just the latest move from Beijing to limit the damage. But to really mend ties, global political leaders must stop conflating the Chinese Communist Party with Chinese people. The party doesn't represent the hopes and the dreams of 1.4 billion citizens, and to think so misses a crucial opportunity. Engaging Chinese youth in a meaningful way with an eye on creating future relationships beyond Xi. Yet, there is a danger in seeing an entire nation solely through the prism of the party. Chinese people and the CCP are not the same thing, and the US should work toward separating the aspirations of Xi and his party from those of the citizens. It is next to impossible to determine what level of support Xi has from those demographics. The Chinese leader is counting on them to rejuvenate the nation and realize his version of the Chinese dream. You should strive to be the new era's great young generation, a generation with ideals, a sense of responsibility, grit, and a dedication," he has said. But young people are feeling disenchantment, not dedication, much like their counterparts in the West. The recent phenomenon of lying flat and the migration to California are both societal indications of enduring fatigue with the system. The jobless rate soared last year only to see authorities suspended reporting those figures and then revising them on the basis of new rosier calculations. Many feel they are no longer guaranteed the prosperity of previous generations. I can't agree more with Ms. Vaswani. How can a civilization with thousands of years of history be equated with an ideology imported from the West, which has only been entrenched in Chinese soil for a few decades? Moreover, the CCP is not the representative elected by the Chinese people, so when did the people grant it such authority? In fact, in the past, many American officials have made similar statements, advocating for a distinction between China and the CCP. For instance, in May 2022, Secretary of State Blinken, in his policy speech on China, stated that while the United States has profound disagreements with the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government, these disagreements are only between the governments and the systems of the two countries, not their people. On October 30, 2019, then U.S. Secretary of State Pompeo, speaking at the Hudson Institute, stated that the Chinese Communist Party government today does not represent the Chinese people. He emphasized that the CCP actively seeks to challenge the United States and the world through various means. On October 4, 2018 and October 24, 2019, then U.S. Vice President Mark Pence delivered two policy speeches on China, also calling for a distinction between the CCP and China. Furthermore, former U.S. Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich, Peter Navarro, who served as the director of the White House Office of Trade and Manufacturing Policy during the Trump administration, former White House strategist Bannon, and many other lawmakers have all made it abundantly clear to differentiate between the CCP and China and its people. This distinction serves to inform the Chinese people who have long been influenced by CCP propaganda that the entity hostile to the United States and posing a threat to the world is not the Chinese people, themselves, but the malevolent CCP. The viewpoints presented in this article have sparked significant resonance, especially within Western public discourse. In fact, they highlight a crucial aspect of addressing issues related to China. I'd like to share my perspective on this matter with you. First and foremost, who is the Chinese Communist Party's greatest enemy? Who does the CCP fear the most? It's not the United States, not the Western liberal societies. The CCP's most feared adversary, its greatest enemy, is none other than the Chinese people themselves. Similarly, consider North Korea today. Pyongyang isn't afraid of the United States or the West. The Kim dictatorship is only concerned with subjugating the North Korean people. Economic hardships are inconsequential as long as Kim's dictatorship remains unchallenged. Who can strip away his dictatorial power? Only the North Korean people. Likewise, when the Soviet Union collapsed and the Communist Party disintegrated, many historians attributed the event to the United States and Reagan. However, the true catalyst was the Soviet people themselves. It was they who ousted the Communist Party from power. Therefore, the CCP is acutely aware of this reality. It's not concerned about confrontation with the United States or the West, but trembles at the thoughts of opposition from the Chinese people. Secondly, the current strategy of Western liberal societies towards China often involves conflating the Chinese Communist Party with the Chinese people or treating them as a unified entity. However, adopting such a simplistic approach to China and formulating policies based on it could inadvertently strengthen the CCP's grip on power, a scenario that the CCP would welcome. Both domestic and international discourse, when blurring the distinction between the Chinese people and the CCP or suggesting that the CCP represents the Chinese people, play into the CCP's agenda. Towards the end of the Trump administration, the United States placed a significant emphasis on distinguishing between the CCP and the Chinese people. Today, the Biden administration has inherited this viewpoint, albeit with reduced intensity, which is exactly the change the CCP hopes to see. The CCP is eager for the United States to adopt this mindset. When discussing China-related issues, the CCP prefers that the US does not concern itself with Chinese people, dismissing them as insignificant. The CCP's stance essentially implies, I'm in charge, so you only need to negotiate with me. Consequently, the West has relinquished its emphasis and concerns for democracy and human rights within China, inadvertently aiding Xi Jinping's dictatorship. In the past, Western leaders visiting China showed great concerns for the well-being and the human rights of the Chinese people. However, now they have abandoned this powerful tool, one that could effectively restrain the CCP. This article serves as a reminder to the West that once possessed a potent instrument and surrendering it voluntarily is unwarranted. Thirdly, is there evidence to support the assertion that the CCP fears international discourse that separates it from the Chinese people, or is this description inaccurate? Let's examine two examples where the CCP reaction suggests that it does indeed fear such differentiation and can react strongly when it occurs. In the first example, when then Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian responded to Pompeo's call to differentiate between the CCP and the Chinese people, his reaction was deemed unbecoming. Zhao dismissed the notion, asserting that any attempt to separate the CCP from the Chinese people was mere fantasy. He went on to claim that the Chinese people were unwavering supporters of the CCP, describing them as the Tongqiang Tiebi, copper wall and iron bastion of the party. This response was considered unbecoming because it diverged from the CCP's typical rhetoric. Consequently, many Chinese internet users promptly mocked Zhao, questioning why they should be considered as shields for the CCP. They asked, why should we be tasked with shielding the Communist Party from attacking bullets? This illustrates that when faced with the idea of distinguishing between itself and the Chinese people, the CCP can react with a lack of poise, resulting in response that appear discordant with their usual rhetoric. Not only did Zhao Lijian lose his composure, but Xi Jinping also showed signs of unease on this matter. Following Pence's remarks about the distinction between the CCP and the Chinese people, Xi unexpectedly made a statement in August 2020. Discussing the relationship between the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese people, he likened this relationship to the relationship between the moon and the stars, 众星捧月, suggesting that the CCP is the moon and the people are the stars supporting the CCP, like a stars supporting the moon in the night sky. This expression is also seen as a sign of unease, deviating significantly from traditional CCP rhetoric. Whether it's a 铜墙铁壁 or 众星捧月, these expressions have not been echoed by the CCP state media or by Xi Jinping himself. This lack of continued usage suggests that these statements were considered inappropriate and are now obsolete. With Xi Jinping having a multitude of speechwriters and advisors, it's perplexing how such a statement comparing the relationship between the Communist Party and the people to the moon and the stars could have surfaced. It indicates a moment of desperation and agitation. This serves as a sensitive topic that must not be touched. Doing so leads to a loss of composure. Therefore, the significance of this issue becomes apparent. Fourthly, if the international community broadens its opposition from the CCP to include discrimination against Chinese individuals, it undermines the moral integrity of the anti-CCP stance, and I strongly oppose this. There are individuals, including some prominent social media influencers, who enjoy mocking Chinese people and China's history. I disagree with this behavior. While everyone is entitled to their own opinions, I have no intention of altering others' viewpoints. I'm solely expressing my own perspectives. My audience should be able to discern that I stand against the CCP. My opposition stems from the CCP's brutal treatment of its people and the damage it has inflicted upon China. However, some individuals oppose the CCP due to their dislike of Chinese people, which is an entirely separate issue. For me, opposing the CCP is about benefiting the Chinese people, improving China, and advancing the civilization of the Chinese nation. This serves as the moral foundation of my anti-CCP stance. If opposition to the CCP is driven by discriminating against the Chinese individuals or China itself, it undermines the anti-CCP cause as it lacks moral justification. For the United States and the Western world, a similar issue arises. Legally, prior to declaring war on China, neither the US nor the West can be considered enemies of the Chinese people. However, from an ideological standpoint, the US government has consistently identified the CCP's ideology as adversarial, aiming to counter and contain it. Nevertheless, from the legal standpoint, ordinary Chinese citizens cannot be treated as adversaries and subject to restrictions or containment. Hence, based on this legal reality, it becomes imperative to differentiate between the CCP and the Chinese people, a prospect greatly feared by the CCP. As previously analyzed, whenever there is a suggestion to separate the CCP from the Chinese people, the CCP reacts strongly. This reaction is observed from the General Secretary to the spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry, indicating their awareness of their own overreaction. Consequently, they refrain from reiterating the same rhetoric. The phrases like 铜墙铁壁 or 众星捧月 are no longer in use. Hence, with such a potent deterrent at hand, one that strikes fear into the CCP, why relinquish it in this ongoing strategic contest? Why not harness its potential to the fullest? This Bloomberg article offers valuable counsel to the West, presenting a highly effective tactic, which is precisely why it has sparked widespread attention in Western discourse. Thank you for watching. Please like, leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. Just click the subscribe button right here. I'll see you again shortly. Until then, be well.